the willingness to be opened up by a joke and to find yourself implicated by the joke, I think, is a way of challenging the social norms. The extraordinary thing about football for me, is the lived experience of the history of a team and how that relates to identity, to family, to who you are.
The decision to live or to die can be a rationally chosen decision. And I love how you talk about, for example, how our conceptual apparatus for suicide is outdated, and that maybe the focus should be system change instead of very much labeling things as mental illness. The main task of philosophy is to prepare us for death. I just want to say, because it is interesting that Ollie's doing Heidegger, and to bring it back even to my course, English literature, and you're constantly, I feel, talking about English literature, which is and bringing that into contact with philosophy, and which I do myself all the time, and just to kind of pick out something that I heard when I was listening to the first episode of Appliedegger. You say, ask whichever object is around you, a table, a chair, a bed, whether it experiences Hamlet's question, to be or not to be. And I thought I was kicking myself, because I just wrote a paper for my finals about German analysis of German readings of Hamlet, showing Hamlet to be extremely self-reflective and this idea of self-consciousness. And I think in relation to Heidegger, it just provides such a wealth of new interpretations. The idea of Hamlet being self-conscious as being kind of the epitome of the human condition, which also relates back to this idea of experience and this idea of being, Dasein, to be or not to be, and then obviously that relates then, which I think we'll get into in a moment, maybe to close up, but the idea of living itself, and the question of death, and suicide, to be or not to be.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's. I began. The way in for me was literature. I had a misspent youth, and it's a long story. But then I went to university to do literature, and then I found that people that were teaching literature to be, I don't know. I could imagine, if I were clever or had more experience, I could imagine doing what they did. But the philosophers that taught me were bewildering. They just seemed a different level of intelligence. So I gravitated towards that. But literature has always been the way in, and always what I go back to. So it's hugely important to me. And I think that, the theatre in particular, and I wrote a book called on Greek tragedy, which is it's basically Greek tragedy beats philosophy. Really. Greek tragedy beats Plato and Aristotle around the head, and what you've got in a play is any interesting play, you've got 3-4 competing points of view which are being debated, played out. Different philosophical conceptions, if you like, and when we turn to Hamlet, it's all there. I mean, I think it's endlessly fascinating and so rich with possibilities, and obviously the Hamlet that we think of as ours in Britain is largely a German invention of the mid 18th century. That's when it's the Germans that really get the find the depth in Shakespeare and in Hamlet in particular. And so English interpretations of Shakespeare were rather kind of flat-footed until German Romanticism turned up. So and Hamlet is the supremely self-conscious being. He's the philosopher par excellence, the melancholic, the most intelligent man you could ever imagine meeting or being. And where does it go? It kind of goes nowhere. It goes into endless doubt and division, and and he cannot act. He can't do the simple thing that's asked of him. Avenge me, his father's ghost says. And he can't do it. And that's why it's also the longest play that we can imagine, because Hamlet keeps devising these cunning stratagems, like the play within the play. And when he finally gets his way and Claudius seems to confess, and there he is, and Hamlet is on his way to see his mother, and that's another story. He has his sword drawn, and then he doesn't kill him because he thinks, this would be the wrong time to kill him because he's at prayer, his soul's going to go to heaven. I'll wait. And so Hamlet is the paradigm for doubts and the way in which philosophical intelligence can lead to inaction, paralysis for me. And but then that means you've got other things in the play. You've got like Ophelia, who's the kind of counterweight to Hamlet, and so yeah. But I think you can. And what I try and do sometimes with the teaching that I do is just to take a play like Hamlet and we read it in class. Do this with undergraduates in particular. We just read the play out loud together and then interpret it. And I think that takes a semester, and then you can bring in all the fascinating interpretations that there are of it, and it really opens things up. And people feel that they might be a little bit intimidated by Shakespeare, but they feel like they can get inside it, and it's all there, and everything is there in Shakespeare. It never ceases to bewilder me. I'm just listening this week, late at night, this wonderful production, The Hollow Crown of Richard II, because I've been thinking about that issue of what it means to give up power. And it's. I mean, whether this is how this happened, I don't know, but Shakespeare always seems to me to be so far ahead of us, right? In whatever we're doing, and is that a trick of the language, a trick of history? I don't know, but it's just true. So it feels like we're constantly trying to catch up to that.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the episode. I just wanted to drop you in a word from our sponsor, Manscaped. You can use the discount code LOAF to get your discount, because even a lion needs to tame its mane.
Get the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra from Manscaped now. Stay fresh with no cuts, so that your baguette leaves no crumbs.